Get a Tragic here, and welcome to the next one. Let's get through these. We're starting to make a bit of a dent. Let's do it. We're looking at box 3 for this one.
You know, I say box 3, but I mean box 5. You voted for 5, and I'm opening 5. I just misspoke.
Oh, that one's quite heavy. Ooh, look, my nice empty table. Okay, let's do this. Oh, dear, this is a heavy one. Oh. Okay, so this is a later box. You can tell by the fact that I taped it. What is in it, I wonder? Oh, some goodies. So we have Star Trek: The Return of Khan. This is basically the Trek Night version of Voltaire, except it's Khan. I love this game. I should play this. Atlantis. I did a little rules explanation of this. This is one of my early rules explanations. It's a very cute little tile laying game. Very, very fun. Not a lot to really say about it. Basically, you're trying to escape Atlantis, but the whole thing's falling apart, this big bridge, and you kind of got to hopscotch over it. See how they kind of turn around into water? You got to build bridges over the water. It's a very cool game. Nice little light game. Dragon Racer. This is a little card game. It's got very pretty cards. I can find one for you. These are the cards. You got all these. Basically, you build a track, right? So these are tracks. And you build a track and then you race. But I found this game to not be very cool. It's a game that I originally bought for my nephew and niece when they were really young, but they didn't like it. Maybe I'll give it another go. They've gotten a little bit older. So basically, this fell into one of these cards that was too kiddie for me. I didn't like playing it, but it was still too much of an effort for my young niece and nephew to play. They're a bit older now, like they're 6 and 8, so probably a better time to try this. I might give this another go with them. Okay, what else we got in here? Forbidden Desert. This is like version 2 of Forbidden Island. Exact same game, basically, except in this one, instead of the island sinking, everything's getting covered in sand, but it's the same mechanically, basically. Almost identical. It's a very good game. What else we got in here? Oh, let's get this one. Permagon. So this is a game where you play a museum collector setting up an exhibit. So you have to, it looks like a fancy Euro, but it's extremely light and easy to play and quick. It's what I would call a gateway game. This teaches you what a Euro is and how to play it, but without a lot of the math or, in my opinion, dry themes that some of them have. Who doesn't like Indiana Jones, basically? So what you do, you find artifacts, right? And these artifacts, you can see, I don't know if you can see in that. I'll try and find some footage for you. They're like split up and you kind of match them together to get whole artifacts, and then you can transport them and then you can exhibit them in the museum. Very, very cool game. Underrated. I love this game. You're going to hear that a lot. The fact is, I own them. I probably love them. Okay. Caroline, this is a little game that I bought once for when I went on holidays to meet the family. Had a lot of success. It's just a cute little game. Very, very, very simple. Matching symbol matcher. Very neat game. What else have we got in here? Sushi Go Party. This is a very famous game. It is a set collection game, and it's a party game. And this one, Sushi Go Party, isn't different from Sushi Go. It's the exact same game, except this one contains all the expansions. So if you want to buy this game, this is the version you get. Basically, you just build sushi. You get your cards and you mix and match and you create a menu, and it's awesome. Oh, this is Pixel Tactics. I really should do a video on this game. This is a fantastic deck dueling game with all these amazing abilities. It's got this beautiful art and it's got so many cards. This doesn't even close because I've got all the expansions in here as well. Love this game. In fact, I really would like to do a video on this game because it's so good. Level 99, this company, they knock every game they do out of the park. They're absolute legends. Ooh. Oh, now here's an old favorite. Samurai. This is an absolute classic and a classic for a reason. It's got an unusual scoring system. It's got these gorgeous pieces. Let's move to the table. Make a bit of room. So you got this sort of map, right? It makes quite a big map when it's all put together. I don't know why jigsaw maps went out of style, but they're awesome. They store flat, there's no creases, and you can end up having really large mats fit in small boxes without using neoprene. Come on, Kickstarter. But look at these awesome pieces. These awesome sort of onyx colored icons. It just looks so good on the board. This is such a good game. It's got a complicated scoring system, which is a downside. And what I mean by that is the scoring system, because the scoring system is complicated, it's hard to know what a good move, what's a good thing to do until you're experienced in the game. Basically, the win condition is obfuscated a little, unfortunately. But I tell you, it is a fantastic, fantastic game. And this is a really, really awesome version of it too, like this particular set. There's those beautiful sort of stone black glass pieces in it. It's old though. It's a bit mashed. Love that game. Like, I really love that game. Oh, here we go. This is one of the greatest games ever. Twilight Struggle. This is the kind of game that I play with people who are adult and not into gaming, right? Who know nothing about modern board games. This is a game that is absolutely amazing, especially if you're into history. Basically, it's an influence control game. So you're vying for influence between Russia and the USA of various countries. So you're using influence for area control. And it has these amazing cards that are all real events in history that you can play to modify the influence on the table. It's amazing. Like, some games you play and they're fun. Some games you play and they're almost educational. Some games you play, you feel like a historic connection, especially war games. You can really, and this is GMT by the way, you can feel this historic connection. But there are some games you play and the game design is so beautiful, just so amazingly well designed that it's just a whole different way of appreciating the game. It's beyond gameplay. It's beyond whether it's fun or not. It's just, this is like a genius has made this game, and this is one of those games. It's unbelievably good. This was #1 on the Geek for decades, for a good reason. Okay, here's another amazing game. This is Mario. So this is, what's really good about this is a 3-player war game, right? And like all war games, it's got very sort of subdued components, because really it's about how you use them all, right? But it's got this amazing board, a lot of spaces, a lot of movement to move around on. But what's interesting is the card system. Let's see if I can get the cards out. The card system uses these very normal, almost standard deck looking things, like clubs and hearts and stuff, and you use this to power the game engine. It is just a phenomenally good game. And one of the real interesting things about it is that what am I trying to say? Oh yeah, one of the interesting things about it is that it's a 3-player game, which is an unusual number. Really good for families with one child. It is a war game, so it's a bit thinky than most, but this is a seriously amazing game. Maria. So, Maria, Twilight Struggle. These are the kinds of games that I mainly played in my game group for many, many years. But unfortunately, I don't really play a lot of war games or war game-like games anymore. The groups that I play with now are firmly in Ameritrash, and my family groups that I play with are definitely casual. So unfortunately, most of the time I play this is digitally. Twilight Struggle has a very good tabletop simulator mod, but they've also released an actual Steam version of the game, kind of like the Axis and Allies Steam game, where you can play people randomly on the internet. So I do a lot of Twilight Struggle there. And Mario, I haven't played that for ages, but I used to play that on Tabletop Simulator as well. That's basically where I do a lot of my wargaming now, is Tabletop Simulator. Because I've got no one to play with. Talking about wargaming, Reluctant Empires. This is an unbelievably good game. Oh man, this is a great, great game. So this is the invasion of Lebanon and Syria, right? And like all war games, it's very component light. So it's just a hex map with like little tiny squares that you got to move around the armies and stuff. A lot of tank movements in this. So it's supply lines, all that kind of stuff. Amazing game. And again, one that I never get to the table. Okay, so this is Mage Wars Arena. So Mage Wars Arena was renamed. It used to just be called Mage Wars, which I do have somewhere. It's a dueling game like Magic the Gathering or anything, or it's a dueling game like Magic the Gathering or whatever, but it has a lot of great innovations. For example, you have an open spell book. There's no searching your deck or anything like that. All your cards are accessible at any time, and you kind of prepare your spells before each turn so you can pick a bunch out. And it plays in an actual 2D space, like a war game. So it's Magic the Gathering style cards, but you have positional data as you move around a map. Left and right attack from behind. This is an expansion, which I haven't really used. I mean, I've used all the cards in the player decks, but I still play the original Mage Wars. This one adds sort of a modular game map instead of a big board game map. And I think the only reason they did that is so they could transfer the game into this smaller into the smaller box. But with the Battlegrounds expansion, the map is now modular and you can sort of arrange it in all these different patterns. Another one of the big innovations from Mage Wars was that it was the first really popular, or really good, I should say, what I call a solid state card game. So basically, card games used to be called deck builders, right? Like Magic the Gathering used to be called a deck builder, CCG or a deck builder or whatever, because you built your own decks. But then the term deck builder started to become synonymous with Dominion style games where you build your deck on the fly during gameplay. So those other kind of games sort of started to be called deck construction games. So Magic the Gathering is a deck construction game. Dominion is a deck builder. Mage Wars and many other games now are what I call solid state. So just like Magic the Gathering, you have, or more like, say, Android Netrunner, the FFG version, you have a mage, and that mage has special abilities, and then you have a deck for that mage. But when you buy the game, when you buy the decks, when you buy the cards, they come in a completed deck, already ready to go. So if you want to play with someone, they just grab the mage they like the look of, and it's got a completed deck. You've got deck building rules, but the point is the decks are solid. They come in one big chunk. sort of like, a good example is Phoenix Reborn, Rise from the Ashes, or whatever it's called, that Plaid Hat game. So there's no actual deck construction unless you want to do it. So that was another innovation in here. So it had an open spellbook innovation. It had a battlefield that you moved around on and had positional data for in front, behind, left. You could block people by summoning like, roadblocks and stuff. And it had solid state deck construction. So incredibly ahead of its time. Unfortunately, it's a bit complicated. It's one of those, new designers, they chuck everything in it, everything that's kitchen sink. Great ideas. Obviously someone who grew up very, very involved in the CCG era. But, they actually make another version of this called Mage War Duels, I think it's called, which is more like a traditional Magic the Gathering style versus without the table. But anyway, this is the Battlegrounds mod for Mage Wars. Excellent, excellent game. Another very sweet game. This is the Great Fire of London. So this game is basically, you have a map of London. It's all packed up. I can't get it out. I'll try and find footage of it. But basically, you have a map of London, and then fire is spreading everywhere. You have to fight the fires. You've got to escape. You've got to save goods and services and people. It's a fantastic game. Very unusual theme. It's got beautiful box art. This is a very underrated game. Never hear anyone talk about this. Awesome game. More cards. Oh, more cards. 3 of them. What have you got here? This is Conquest. That was the very short-lived and really good LCG, about 40k. Conquest lives on, by the way. There's a very strong fan community who've been basically making their own expansions since it got canned. More Lord of the Rings. And more... actually, that's not Conquest. Yeah, more Conquest. More Conquest. So a whole bunch of card games. Oh, what's next? Last one. Okay, so this is Copycat. This is sort of like a joke game in some ways. I never really played this much, but it's an interesting game. It's called Copycat because the designer basically took all the super popular gaming mechanics that existed, just, and copied them all into one game. So it's got everything in this game. If you can think of a Eurogame mechanism that was popular when this game came out, it is in this game, and that's why it's called Copycat. It's a fantastic game, but it's kind of fun, and because of the concept of it, it's a little bloated. So this is a game that I quite like, but I probably won't play that again. There's just better games for me to put to the table, I believe. I might actually put this in the sale list. Okay, so that's good. We've got a couple of light games. Caroline, Dragon Rider and Paragon, Forbidden Desert, Sushi Go. We've got one of the great reskins of all time, the Trek Knight, which is a reskin of Mage Knight, which is my favourite game of all time, one of my favourite games. We've got a whole bunch of awesome cards for the card game collection. Still wondering where my Middle-earth cards are. We have a bunch of old war games that are just absolute class. Reluctant Enemies, Twilight Struggle, and Maria. And we have the Samurai game, which is just unbelievably good as well. Plus we've got a couple of really top-notch, like best of their class games. Mage Wars, underrated. I mean, I seriously like that game. I should really do, I keep saying this, but I should do a video on that. It deserves more attention. It was so ahead of its time, and it's got ideas in it, which I still think should be in other games. And of course, Pixel Tactics, which is just a mind-boggling game. So that was a very nice, juicy box. Very cool. Okay, well that's that. That's the next box open. Don't forget to vote on what is next, and I will see you guys next time.